You are once again welcome to the monthly technical meeting, which is being hosted by MudoZangl. So a big round of applause for our sponsors for today. Thank you for making this possible. We're going to be having a great time, and we're going to start with the opening remark from Oladipo Ashafa, who's the section chair for Lagos section. Please a round of applause as we welcome him up.
Good evening, everyone. Okay, I can see it packing up slowly. It's that 5 to 6 o'clock is usually a challenge, but by 6, it's then overflowing to the balcony. So looks like we're on cue. So I'd like to first welcome our presenters and our sponsors. Thank you, sirs, for coming. MudoZangl and Seplat, thank you. I'd like to thank the members of the SPE Lagos community that continue to make these technical events successful. Last month, I was absent unavoidably, but that was ANO Gas Processing Company with their MD and their technical director. And it was amazing and positive feedback. I saw the pictures. It looked like you guys had a lot of fun. The SPE Lagos is part of the SPE International Organization. I'll say a little bit about it. It's in 145 countries, over 123,000 members. We are one section out of many. In Nigeria, we're 5. In August, we'll be 6. The Uyo section will be added. And we all do great work in terms of sharing. Hey, round of applause. Yeah. So we all do great work sharing technical knowledge and advancing the cause of our industry. We used to meet online following COVID, but now we're back to the face-to-face. We can share knowledge, we can meet ourselves, and we do other things. We support the students. We have 10 university chapters under our sponsorship, and we also do a lot of great community works. Irene successfully delivered the St. Mary's e-library project. You should see the before and after pictures. Wonderful. So for today, I won't say what the people who will come after me will say. All I can ask for is everyone pay attention. You're here in the spirit to learn and share. We're all going to be respectful, and I wish everyone happy learning session. Thank you.
Thank you, Section Chair. So we'll now go on to our executive sponsor's remark, who is in person of Mr. Chidi Amudo. He is the co-founder and group CEO of MudoZangl Nigeria Limited. Please, a big round of applause as I just give a brief intro before he comes up. So Chidi Amudo is the CEO and co-founder of MudoZangl, which is a solutions firm that operates in the global petroleum and financial sectors. He is a highly accomplished petroleum engineer and E&P industry leader with over 3 decades of global experience and technical expertise. He is a respected authority and thought leader. He has authored and co-authored numerous technical papers, presented at international conferences, and he's also led workshops on critical topics such as design of experiments and data-driven workflows. Chidi is a member of the Society of Petroleum Engineers. A big round of applause, because that's the society to be a part of. He's a SPE Distinguished Lecturer and a recipient of multiple SPE Outstanding Technical Editor Awards. So a big round of applause once again to our heavily padded SPE member as he comes up to give his executive sponsor's remarks.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Okay. I can see a lot of very familiar faces here. Thank you so much for coming. Can you hear me? Yes. All right. I think one of the things I want to first of all say is that SPE is in the DNA of MudoZangl. We are very, very proud to associate with SPE. SPE is an association that has done a lot of tremendous things for the careers of so many people. So it gives me pleasure, therefore, to see a lot of very young faces in the room. Just to give you an example, our current chairman, Mr. Egbati Momo, used to be the SPE president international, worldwide. You may also know Chike Nwosu. Chike Nwosu used to be the SPE Lagos chairman. So it gives us, therefore, great pleasure to be here today and a big honor to be part of this huge organization. Today, the question of integrated planning is going to be discussed. So the question is, how did we get into integrated planning? I'm not going to steal the thunder of the presenters, but two things come to mind when we went in this direction. We're a solutions company, but the question is, what kind of solutions do you want to bring to the market, right? And one of the things we noticed, which was very, very shocking, was that 90% of organizations, they spend billions of dollars developing strategies, but 90% of them fail. So you spend billions to develop strategies, and then when you execute them, they fail. So why is that so? That's a very curious situation. And then one of our clients, one of our early adopters, told me, Chidi, I am struggling with integrated activity planning. That if anybody can find that solution for me, I'll be very, very happy. He even went as far as going to Oman, and unfortunately for him, before they could start anything, COVID came, and that was suspended. So this was now somewhere in 2020, and that's how we started the journey. 7 companies later, we have learned a lot of things. One of the things we've learned is that when you deal with integrated planning, the biggest problem you're going to face are the siloed processes. Many companies have great processes, but they are just siloed and things tend to fall through the crack. When you try to change it, change management becomes a very big issue. So if you don't have a senior executive that is very, very interested in driving this and ensuring transparency, then integrated planning is going to fail. It's just a simple fact. When we first started, there was a lot of excitement to just deploy a solution. After 1 or 2 attempts, we realized that for those companies who don't have the business processes in place, who don't have the leadership discipline in place, the solution will simply not work. There is nothing you can do about it. So today, you are going to hear from 2 experts who are going to discuss some of the concepts, some of the challenges of integrated planning, and also there will be someone here that will talk about their own personal experience within the organization as they do integrated planning. So thank you so much for coming here today, and I look forward to you having a very good evening, a very robust conversation, and with the presenters, and hopefully during the cocktail, we'll probably have a chance to also talk to each other and see what happens. So thank you so much for your time, and have a good evening.
Thank you, sir. So we're going into the meat of it now with our technical presentation, which is on the topic turning challenges in oil and gas planning into wins through integrated planning, concepts and case studies. So I'll be introducing our next speaker, the technical paper presenter, who is a person of Mr. Bello Ibrahim. He's a petroleum engineering and corporate planning domain expert. He is currently the petroleum engineering and corporate planning domain expert at MudoZangl, a global solutions firm that operates in the petroleum and financial sectors. Bello is a seasoned exploration and production professional with over 34 years of experience spanning a wide range of E&P activities, including wells and reservoir management, identification and maturation of development activities, and detailed 3D reservoir simulations. He has managed and led the development, coordination, and integration of planning processes across various entities, which include SNEPCO, SNG, NLNG, Shell Gabon, and SPDC, where he retired after managing 4 SPDC domestic gas supply projects, which combined headline size of more than $2 billion. His experience in the upstream to midstream operations included managing domestic gas projects, ensuring effective project risks and value management, stakeholder engagement, budget performance, and efficient project execution. Bello is a member of, guess where? The SPE. So a big round of applause as we welcome him up. Please, let's get some energy. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. So good evening, everybody. Good evening. So I hope I'm audible. Okay. So I'll need a favor from one of the organizers. So because we have 30 minutes and it's just two of us, so we've agreed that we'll do 15 minutes each. So I would like to be prompted when it's 15 minutes for me. So basically, so the essence of the session today is very clear. Can you hear me now? Okay, clear. All right. So basically, the why we are here is very clear, which is to speak to the challenges in the oil and gas with respect to planning and how we've been able to find solutions to ease the pain of majority of the planners, especially the corporate planners and co. So basically, I will be speaking to give us an insight into what the business planning process looks like. So I'll speak to typical planning cycle, talk about the landscape and the planning, the workflow process we've designed to be able to create those solutions for our clients. So basically, you all recognize, I don't know how many of us have participated in planning before. So planning is basically broken into several layers. So you have what we call the asset reference plan, which basically covers from 5 years to full life cycle planning. And then you have what dovetail from the asset reference plan, where you come to the business plan, which is typically 5 years. And out of the 5 years, so you have the first 1 year, which is basically the operational plan, which is what you use to engage maybe your partners, develop your budget for that particular year one plan. So subsequently, that same 1 year plan, you break it down into the quarterly plans. So one thing you will notice here is that all these plans in various organizations are treated as different processes. And what do I mean? So you'll find that you may find a department completely running the business plan, running the business plan, and then you find the production team or the lower asset doing the quarterly performance. And then there's a disconnection between the two over time. So one of the limitations of this is that you find that those interdependencies between various plan layers are missing. So, and then you'll find that again, another limitation is that you have different plans running in different platforms. So for you to solve that, you need a platform that can house all those planning cycles in one single platform. And if you're able to achieve that, you relieve the pain of majority of planners, especially the corporate planners. And when you're able to do that too, you can establish consistency between the corporate goals and also your plan build. So what are those pains that are typical in any business, in any planning environment? So you'll find that there are challenges with resource sharing. So that's one major area. You'll find that you have resources, but they are not efficiently utilized, resulting in higher cost of operations. So you have the issues of having various people. For instance, you have the engineering team having a completely different solution using Primavera, for instance, to do their planning. You have the Wells guys who probably may be using Microsoft solutions, and then you have those who are probably using Excel. So for you to integrate that for a planner is a hell. So, and then you also have the issues where, because those planning layers are different, so there's a challenge with the data that you want to use. You want to be sure that that data you want to use is consistent and is reliable and is a single source of truth. So to be able to establish that, you need to have one platform where everybody pulls that data so there's consistency across. Then the other major issue you have again is being able to have a forum where you can have conversations in terms of aligning business plan, the activities. So you need a collaborative environment, which I'll speak to down the line. So to achieve and solve some of these challenges is we develop this workflow, which speaks from the initiation, formulation, consolidation. Basically, the initiation is where you flow in, you view it as a funnel. So where you put in all your data, so it could be your business plan, it could be your asset reference plan. You move it through that funnel. So on each phase, I'll speak to that gradually in the next track. So one other key thing I would like to highlight is the action tracker. So you build a plan, you must tie that plan to action people who execute it. Otherwise, it becomes a plan on paper. I remember my boss used to say, you have a plan, it could just be a tiger. It's like you have a tiger on the paper, it can't hurt anybody. So you must be able to translate it into action to be able to get results. So basically, this is the flow line looks like. So the initiation activities is you are not allowed to create your project individual across all functions. You have the functional build-up, then you have the departmental build-up, and then up to the corporate level. So you create your activity. You are also allowed to, in the platform, you are also allowed to put in, to carry out your SWOT analysis for that particular activity, so create the risk associated with it, and also do economics. Because you want a platform where you are able to have a consistent parameter across, not a team A doing an economics using different parameters, and then you want to compete with them at the corporate level, you will fail. So you have to maintain a consistency across. So with that, you have to initiate your project through this phase. The formulation phase is now a case where you now assemble all the plans from all the various functions. It could be from the production, engineering, it could even be across assets, asset A, B, and C. So you come into that platform, this is where you now have to have conversations, where you have to define the shared resources, because at the initiation phase, you are allowed to build your plan unconstrained. You build your plan, request for your resources, and bring it in unconstrained. So by the time you come to the formulation, you define the resources that are available, the corporate resources that are available. So you define other parameters, and then you start having a platform where you can start to integrate. So here you've assembled the plan. At this phase, when you assemble all those plans, you can do scenario analysis of the plan. It's just like your concept selection, then you now go to select. So this phase, you see it as it's a concept selection phase, where you do various scenarios of plans, and then you move ahead with one single plan. So it's that single plan that you now move to execution in terms of either medium-term or short-term activities and all that, and also track executions. So to achieve that and solve that first slide I talked about, so just like what Chidi said at the beginning, so we had to create a solution that will house all those phases of planning phases. So you don't have any solution that is available that addresses that. So like I said, so you find various plans are in various silos. So you have the initiation, so you have the formulation, you have the execution, all in the same single platform. And then you have the task where I say you must assign that task for it to be executed to people. So this is the entire planning process on one single platform, moving from business plan to execution, which is your medium time, and then the short time activities, and also in the execution phase. So you have your business planning activities. You can see each project coming from each department, depending on the structure you have. It could also be per asset or per division, and it could also be across companies. So where you have company A, nowadays you have companies that have subsidiaries here and there. So, and one good thing that we also built into the system is you want to have one single source of truth. You want to ensure that the data you want to use is the data that has been approved. So one of our clients, so what they requested was they want 3-level approval. So where the team leaders have to approve the activity or the project before it moves into the system, and they also want the divisional head, the departmental head to sign, and also the division head. So, and then for you to move project from one phase to the other, where the corporate guys comes in. So that's where you now have the gatekeepers. So again, so you find another approval process there. So with this level of controls, you are guaranteed that the data you are using is a valid data and is representative and is common across anybody in the system that wants to use it. So initiation phase, which I've basically said, so you have the ability to carry out to do your economic analysis. So, and this economic analysis in the formulation phase, you can consolidate it across all the projects to have one single economic forum for the project. So also the risk and SWOT analysis, you can do that on activity basis, and then you can also do it, you can consolidate it for the entire plan. So in the formulation phase, so you define, like I mentioned earlier, you define the resources. So the resources are in two parts. You have the time resources, and you also have the material resources. The time resources are things like you have the planning, you have the personnel, the number of hours they are available. So you have the material resources, the likes of cranes, badges, and all that stuff. So you're able to do all that. So when I was talking about the consolidation of projects, so the ability of the solution is the fact that now, like I said, so the engineering guys may have the PX6 as their source of plan, and then you have the MS for the well engineering guys, and also the Excel. So you have the ability to import the projects each. So this way now you're able to consolidate all the projects together, and also consolidate the SWOT analysis and co. So, and like I said again, so you have, it's a collaborative environment. So by the time you consolidate all the plans together across all the functions, here you now see the resources, because initially you come in with an unconstrained resource requirement. So now you've established the resources, so you can now see the conflict. So the red one shows that you have more resources requested than what is available. So you need to deconflict this. So, and this is where this the solution is so powerful. You have this collaborative environment where all those who can make decisions are available in that meeting. You take that decision, shift the things around, and where the KPI or the goal of the corporate is being challenged, the question might be, do you want to bring in extra resources or want to rephase? So, and then you have, so, and I think maybe my colleague will speak to this. So basically what you have here is that after the project is in execution, maybe the medium-term IAP, the short-term IAP, you're able to assign some of the requirements, certain things that need to happen before the wells happen. So this is in a collaborative environment where requirements are specified. For instance, for you to drill your well, the location must be ready, you must have permit. So all those things, you can track them. So the moment there's a shortfall in some, you already know that your plans is threatened. And then it's also evidence-based in the sense that you don't just come to the meeting and say, oh, I've completed this task. You must provide evidence, and you can load that evidence into what we call the knowledge base. So the knowledge base now houses the unstructured data, which are the permits and various other documents. So, and then the tax again, you track your tax, and everybody has the time limit. You also need to define when the tax is completed, give the time and date. And this information comes to you through your email, a reminder. So one of our clients said, okay, they want a reminder 3 days before the deadline. Some said because of information overload, we need to filter. So different clients, different needs. So, and then this is the resource tracker. So basically, you track the resources being required by the various project teams, and then you see where it is ready. It shows that you're having more request than what is available. So, and I think this just gives you a summary of the resource tracker that we've built into the system. I've spoken about the time resources, material resources also available. And then finally, again, is the dashboard. So it's the dashboard. So again, the solutions is able to create a dashboard for you such that you minimize that your work, and then the turnaround for you to deliver projects is limited. Okay, So I think that that's all I would like to say. So in principle, in summary now, we have a solution that is able to integrate the entire business planning phase from the asset reference plan or your business plan down to the day-to-day operations in one single platform, so that any update at the lower level also reflects. Unlike before, where the business planning guy will have just moved on, and so many things are changing in the work phase, in the interface. So thanks, and that's all.
Thank you so much, sir. That was very insightful. The solution can basically integrate the entire business holistically and narrow it down to the day-to-day. So now we'll be moving on to our next technical paper presenter, who is Mr. Frederick Nwabo. He's the Manager, Non-Operated Ventures and Technical Planning at Seplat Energy PLC. So please let's give a round of applause for our next speaker that has handshakes from Mr. Bello Ibrahim.
Good evening, everyone. I think I'll just add a bit of, I'm a member of SPE and hadn't attendance of the SPE conference in August. Okay, I think, thank you very much. I appreciate SPE, thank you for having the time like this for us to come and share our time, some experience we've had, you know. Then thank you, MudoZangl, and my great company, Seplat, who has been very, very nice in providing a huge platform for young and experienced professionals and for us to express ourselves. So notwithstanding then my colleagues who are here present, I say thank you very much, every one of you. And I will just go straight. So I used to have a period of time. Planning is a secular thing when it comes to organization. And one of the things Alim said is that everybody knows how to plan. Know that. If you are a structured and a corporate person, we all know how to plan. We always fall into that temptation of implementing these plans you've planned. Everybody has a nice plan. If I ask you today, how do you get your way or find your way to your house? You can tell. But when traffic or you have some barriers, your plan changes. Is that implementation? So as an organization, I had a process where you have all departments coming together. 1st of January, the CEO sends an email congratulating everybody. And this is what we've done for the year, and this is what we are to do in this new year. 16 wells, stock opportunity, short-term games. In between, you're going to be having series of shutdowns, and it shouldn't be more than 1 or 2. You're going to be having a project that will commensurate this fluid you're going to be bringing into the existing. And mind you, we're not going to get this liquid we have ongoing, we call it NFA, stops while you continue to bring more liquid into the mix. Everybody has that checked in plan. But when I told my colleague, when we finish our meeting after planning, they leave the planners to put everything together. So you have the non-technical folks cut across from the SCM, the external affairs folks, who comes with their Excel, some comes with Microsoft Word, some comes with a PPT presentation slide. And they say, Fred, this is what I have, take. Fred, team, planning, this is what I have, take. So we spend the whole time after work period putting them together. So I had my integrated, I think one of my manager, Effiod Okon, that's a CEO, then was a operation director. So he said, how do I make your life better? How do we help you so that you close early? I said, well, I tried to explain to him that we always have this ready. I shouldn't be bothered. I started learning the VLOOP and Excel sheets and all that, but that didn't help. So I got to check. I've checked other integrated activities, soft application. I couldn't, but someone just said I should try MudoZangl. There's something they can do, and I met Chidi So I think Mr. Erume introduced Chidi to me, said, just give this guy, let's see what will happen. First of all, I criticized it because I felt I know Excel. For some of us who are in this room, don't get stuck with just what you know alone. Sometimes it can be your barrier. Open up, try and learn something new, and that's what brought me to the IEP applications. And when I started using it, I found out it was nice. So when the planning comes, he said 16 wells. These 16 wells are going to give us nothing less than, I think we're looking at 15,000 barrels. The stock will come into the mix to give us nothing less than 8,000 barrels per day. And in between, I have, I'm going to mention some names, my colleague Mike, who has everything about the shutdown activities. The shutdown activities is the engineering folks, when they construct those flow line that hook up this well to the separators for them to be processed and for us to take to the terminal to sell. If the lines are lifelines to hook up with, they have to do a shutdown. So from here, this well carries a lot of responsibility. Here, you're going to have the technical guys and the non-technical folks who are going to walk across this for us to have. All for the goal, all for the drivers. The drivers is the CEO, the COO, who is going to bear the brunt of if we don't have our production for us to increase our production. You know what revenue is? The liquid is our revenue, and if you don't have that liquid, revenue dies. You know what happens when you don't have revenue in organization. So I needed to talk to the drilling guys, and we have this tradition where once the technical guys meet, they get to the non-technical folks and say, hey, SCM, get this done for me. So how do I bring those who have that upfront planning? How do I bring the SCM folks? How do I bring those who will chase my permits for me? Everybody's well planned, they know what to do, but when do they come in? And this is why and where the integrated application comes in from. That's the IEP. So we needed to get this drilling sequence, tear them apart. What are the critical success factors? I need a permit. Any PRC have to approve this permit within 6 months. I need to get the drilling contracts. I need to get the flow lines. I need to get the community to give me a peaceful environment to where I can hook up this well, drill this well, flow this, and get this exported. And we have to walk that path. So you're talking about nothing less than more than 15, 20 units cut across. And everybody has to put hands together to get these circles to give us liquid. So we designed these applications. How do we get everybody in? So there's a meeting we call Integrated Activities Planning Meet, which is, MFAP, Multifunctional Activities Planning. Now that multifunctional activities planning is where we get this open. So we get in the plan. One of the beautiful things about this integrated activities planning tool is that if you have the likes of the Excel, you have the Microsoft project and all that, you can upload it, drag it into that applications. It brings it out for you. You put it in a plan. You present it to everybody and say, every one of us here, we have an input into this. How? These are your actions. They have a heat map. For us in Seplat, red is not a good sign. The way red it is on a traffic light stop. So when we see this red is how do we turn this red to become green? Is what everybody's target will be. So the guys from the permits will need to really work that space. The guys from community who need to ensure that we have a peaceful environment has to work that place. So he knows this is where he comes in. So before then, it's all in silos. Everybody has it in their own space. Everybody's working that space, no problem. So by the time you pull in these applications, you are seeing it in one page. You can use it to run that meetings where you say, we are all here and we could see who is dragging us back. We're not going to spank anybody. We're not going to tell anybody that you're having a problem. Is at the end of the day, we just want to see 25,000 barrels of crude per day being achieved. And that is what we did in our organization. 5 drilling rigs, you can imagine how that's going to be. And you're going to have the 16 short-term gains cut across, water shut off, you have to perforate some wells, existing wells, where you have water, shutting those wells, push the tubings up, perforate again, and get your crude to flow in. So you have major shutdown, you have minor shutdown. This activities has to come into place, and those that will support this to happen has to be to be seen physically. So when we had that ready, everything went well. 2023, fantastic. Why? Because we could put everybody in a room, everybody in an application. You see your actions, you see what you are bringing. You see, I don't want to say what the least person can do. You see what everybody, the contributor, the actors, what they bring into the table that will make one needle to push one task that will make it happen. So this is what I think for me, I recommend for, if you're in this room, it's something I think we should have in our organization. So my next slide talks about what we're having it manually. I talked about the likes of the Excel sheet. Business objective were there. We had a business objective. Everything you listed there were there, but is that integration? As little as we might think integration is very difficult for those that are integrating it. That's what the planners do. How do I integrate the business objective, the business process, decision gates? How do I know when my next or who is in charge comes in? And we have all manners of application. We have a software for costing. We have a software for drilling. We have a software all over the places. And there was a day I did an audit. We have nothing next down. 20-30 applications. But how do you tie them into integration mode? And that is what the MudoZangl integrated activities planning software did for me. And I could say, if you have a single source data line, is what that application did. And that application could tell me in my well intervention, these are the steps I need for me to get my well, for anybody to go to the field. In fact, it could tell me that in June, if I say the rig is ready to move to the field, instead of incurring more cost, I know because I have my traffic light in an application. It tells me I don't have the well permits, I don't have the EWDP, I don't have all those my resources as required. Do I have the contract? If I have the contract, do I have the pipeline? If I have the pipeline, do I have the community? Do I have the land to acquire? If I don't have this, check. This can't happen. And this what I've explained here, everybody sees it. Every of the team members, including the CEO, the number one man in my organization, sees this application. So he didn't have to go to anybody's seat and say, our well hasn't moved, our rig hasn't moved, what's happening? He says it in a meeting and he says, we have a couple number of permits that hasn't gone out. This rig is not possible. So that is one thing, I'll call it a single source of truth. There's another part I needed to speak here is that part of when you're looking at the variance. Someone says, Fred, it's just permit now, that doesn't matter. And I said, your permit is costing us 2,000 barrels per day. How? When that well doesn't drill, and if that well doesn't come in on time, there's something we call OSD, or stream dates. We plan the well, we do the forecast. The forecast, this well has to come in March. And if it's not coming in March, it comes in June. Yes, you might be happy. But at a certain time, you need that well to peak and say, this 2,000 barrels will give me now till June, July. And all are cumulative to a certain number. So for every delay, there's a production you are delaying to come into the mix. To every delay, there's a process that someone has skipped, the decision gates. You cannot tell me that we have all our plans out and somebody refused to move. Why? someone has not checked. By the time you open the application, and sometimes it has a beep to show you that something has not been done. Don't think that will happen. So we needed to have those decentralized data management has to come into place. Those data formats, sometimes the format of those Excel sheet and the Microsoft Word might not be in a good shape. You have to beat them around. So by the time I assume them into that happens very well. And how about management of change? The management of change is another big headache. The design team must have done some changes. They did some modification. How do we track it? It's now digitized. So when my process engineer has changed a certain design of a separator, and we've had some review workshop, and review workshop said we need to get this design into certain pressure, certain arrival. We made a mistake. There's something we need to do so that we can accommodate it. That process, it was manually done. Someone has to sign. Designed by this, signed by this, approved by this. You just take it from the boss, and that sees everywhere. So it's a process where everybody has access to this application. Everybody can update it ahead of that meeting. By the time we are having our multifunctional activities planning, everybody who are in charge, who are supposed to do what they need to do, will update it. As I'm opening it, I see it all. And by then, we're having a good meeting. So if there's something I want us to take here away in this meeting, is a process where the functional activities planning has worked very well. As dark as that red, you cannot move to the field. The greener, the better. So everything you see beneath here is we are good to go to drill this well. Everything you see here is this is where we stop, and this is played in a meeting, in a public meeting, individuals, and it's very easy to update. You go there, you take it, you update it. And it's more collaborative enough. You could run with it, you could open it, update it even from your computer at your own pace. And this is where we've been able to make efficiency, make things work better. So if we could allow the system to run very well, which we've started since 2022 into 2023, and we could tell things like a shutdown that was made to happen that for no reason. Someone can tell you, an engineering guy can tell you, I want to shut down because I'm tying a well. And you're telling me you're going to cut down 10,000 barrels. Say, don't worry, I don't need it. Let the production happen. So over time, we found out that we're having 78, 80% efficiency. By the time we had a meeting with ourselves in a room like this, where everybody, key players were there, we ensured that from 73%, we moved into 83% efficiency, saving us 4,000 barrels per day. How? Because we needed not to shut down when we don't need it. We need to ensure that this well or this rig has to be at a particular time where all the critical success factor has been turned into green. So you hear sometimes some organization has mobilized rig to the field and they found out there is no permit. And with this day and age where you have the NEPROCs, they are not joking with fines. When you spoil that well without permit, there's another fine. So you've delayed your organization for not achieving their targets, and you've allowed the organization to incur cost, charges, and this happened over time. Then the IP application to, I think what we did at the time was we needed to track our carbon emission, and that's we did fantastically well. And you could open the application, you see what we've tracked, the diesel we burn on the field, and even up to the emission they held in our office, it was tracked, and the flares. Today in Seplat, we are looking at 2025, I think 2026, 2027, we should have a zero flare on our field, and that has happened. That has made the organization to come up with a lot of projects, which has taken over, I think has cut down most of our flares. So by 2026, some of the flares you see, if some of us must have time to go to, if you have time to some of our fields, If our flares, we are flaring them because we know a million score for any PRC is $3 certain fraction of cents for per million score. So while we're trying to increase our production, we're trying to ensure that we don't have some flares out that will cause damage to our community, and all for why we have everybody to see. If you are doing well when it comes to planning, you see it. If you are doing well when it comes to production, you're doing well when it comes to keep your environment safe, have a safe community. Everything is being seen in one application where everybody have access, update their part, and they see everything like a mirror, reflect what you see. And that is how I will just pause. If there was a question for me, I'm here to answer. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much to our speaker, Mr. Fred, for that session. So as we know now from the software application, it ensures accountability via collaboration. Users are able to report their updates at their own pace, and they can also have an overview of what their colleagues are working on. The application also allows one to track their carbon emission or a company's carbon emission, and we've been told that Seplat is now moving to end flare by 2026, 2027. So let's have a big round of applause for them as we encourage our colleague in the industry through the MudoZangl application. Okay, so we're now in the question and answer section. So we'll be taking questions over the next couple of minutes. So do we have any questions for our speakers, Mr. Bello, Mr. Fred? We have a question here. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you very much, Irene. My name is Chiamaka, and I work with Seplat Energy. So my question, because I haven't heard of this application before, so but first let me thank Fred for shedding light on the, like what he called it, the big headache the planning team had. I didn't know that before, that they had so much challenges integrating and going through that manual process. And thankfully, the application he currently has is helping him in his job. But I am curious because he mentioned that he probably tried a couple of integrated processes before they stumbled on this one by MudoZangl. So I'm curious, what is it about this current application that sets it apart from what we have in the industry at the moment? And what's the adoption like in the industry? Is anyone, aside Seplat, do we have other people using it? Do we have wins from them? What's the story like? Or is it that Seplat is just trying to, manage it and they have challenges? So I just want to hear from the MudoZangl team how, what the adoption and buying is like from the industry. And also, I do have another question for Seplat. Are you currently having challenges with this? Or is there something I know probably you have that feedback loop with the MudoZangl team, you've been speaking to them, maybe if you're having, so they can also take that feedback back. Maybe, and other people can also hear, maybe if they are using it, how they can improve on their current solution. So what are the challenges you are having, just to cut it short, what are the challenges you are having with MudoZangl, this IAP now? And just finally, to wrap up, so I was also thinking, because Mr. Chidi mentioned earlier that the biggest challenge is resistance, and he mentioned change management. He also mentioned, I think I should stick to that. He mentioned that there's usually a resistance to change. And so I'm just thinking, aside this, because most times whenever anybody introduces something new, there's always that resistance. So aside this usual resistance, and I use that cautiously because sometimes that resistance to change can break up my project. But aside that, is there any other prevalent challenge in achieving true integration in the oil and gas industry? So those are my questions. Thank you.
I'll just give it to Mr. Chidi now.
Chiamaka, thank you so much. Okay, in terms of adoption, I think the reality is that when you deploy a solution and then you are trying to change behavior, if there is not a lot of engagement at the top level to drive it down, it will fail. So it's not a software issue sometimes. Usually it is more of how does the community adopt it. But in terms of specific companies that are using it, I know it's been deployed successfully in New Cross. And in the case of New Cross, their major challenge was always how do you interact with all the major stakeholders on the same page. And that solution being deployed to them, they find it extremely very helpful. And as I'm talking to you now, there's conversations around, because they have a group structure they're going with, where they have 3 different companies to adopt the solution across the 3 different companies. One of the reasons why we've been hesitant to go in that direction is because before you can actually achieve that, you must have a clear business plan process in place that is well established. Another company that is using it today, that we recently launched it for, is NLNG. NLNG is using it and successfully also. Now, there are companies that we initially started with and then recognized that the adoption rate was very weak. And part of the reason was because at the time we deployed it, we didn't have a business planning process in place. So until you have that, and that's one of our lessons, we discourage people from using it unless, of course, they have a business planning process in place. If they don't have it, they will encourage them to, first of all, develop it, mark their process. Otherwise, you just buy another software that you don't waste your money. So that is very, very important. So the other question you asked was, what are the major challenges behind besides change management? I think in that, looking from outside, that has been the biggest problem. So what have we done when we had the same problem? Because we've been learning as we go along. One of the things we did for one of our clients, we put clients on hypercare once to develop, right? And in the case of one of our clients, of course, we actually have somebody co-located with them in the office who actually then ensures that the data that needs to go in goes in at the right time. Because if you don't do that, it becomes a problem. The other client that has recently accepted to use the solution, one of the things we made compulsory was that, rather, one of the proposals, it's a multi-year contract they had, 3 years, and in that contract, every year, the budget for training was included. Because when you have a massive asset, and it's a very big one, probably our biggest client, is at NLNG. When you have a big asset like that, each department is a company on its own. And the adoption rate will vary from one department to the other. And they already have processes in place that they are comfortable with. So this is not to dismantle what they have, it's to build on what they have. And those are the lessons we have learned in working for 7 companies, trying to deploy this solution, struggling in some cases, some of our own internal challenges. In many cases, however, is actually the disbelief that this is actually possible. So if you don't have the leadership from the top forcing them to use it, it will fail. So usually when we pitch this solution, we generally pitch to the C-level executive now. We don't bother with mid-level managers because we know they do not have the authority to break down the barriers. So it's only when the level executives accept it that this is all that they need, then, and they assign someone in which they have clear oversight that I need to have this, then the success rate will become very high. And that's one of the things, that's one of the lessons we have learned in the last 4 years of trying to bring this solution to market.
Just before, what sets you apart actually from other plans like this, other applications like this?
So, okay, I'll give it to you. Now, do not confuse it with project planning tool. The project planning tool, they are very, very good. So I'm not going to start competing with Primavera or MS Project. No, that's not it. But this is a tool that sits on top of that. So you can consider your project in your different departments, but to bring it together, that is where it normally fails. Right? And this is what sets it apart. So, and then you have a unified planning platform, and I'm not aware of any solution out there in the market that can do your business plan all the way to your operations plan. I'm not aware of anything like that. So it unifies the whole thing. If there is one, maybe, but as far as I'm aware of, is not. And the reason I say so is because before Energy signed us off, for almost 3 years, they've been talking to people, trying to figure it out, and so on and so forth. Before they finally said, okay, this company that is just come to the market, let's see what you can do. And I think it took us 9 months. We worked with them for 9 months to mark the process, do everything, and they finally went live in March.
So to my colleague Chamaka, I think I could tell you for free that I used to be, when I'm having my meetings, my multifunctional meetings, I used to be fidgeting. That's adrenaline pumps. So you have to prepare your slide, put all the X curve together. I just use this application to run my meeting. I think I have one of my team members, Michael here. If you see these tabs here, they're all different departments, right? So I just load them in, take the Primavera, take the Microsoft project, the Access, Microsoft Access, upload them in these tabs. All I need to do is just use this as my interactive meeting. So I don't need to update my slides. I don't need to prepare a new slide. This is my meeting presentation. All I need to do is just to click each of these buttons and shuffle around different departments and what they need. You have your asset integrity there. You have when you see that integrated planning, you have asset integrity, well intervention, drilling sequence, you have a production operations. The targeted into production operation. If you want to check your production dashboard, you see where you are to date for production, you see where you are going, latest estimate, and you see all the crane curves of even field by field. So maybe if I could grant you access, you just have this display for you. So instead of me going to prepare for one meeting a day or one night before the meeting, I just check everybody. Mike, have you clicked that button? Yes, yes, yes. I go to the meeting, present this application, and I shuffle around it, and I see where everybody are. I think that is one of the things I can tell. For now, if there's any better application, I'm still open to use them very cheaply. But I think I can tell for free that it's something I've used, and my team member from the multifunctional activities planning, however, in a meeting, I have 40, 50 of them who attend that same meeting, and they all contribute seamlessly. So we're going to have an upgrade to this application. Chidi has told me that we're going to have more of the departments who are going to be tied to this. I think that would be for it. And I can't forget the word of my operation director, then Effie Okoro. He said, if we cannot track our carbon emission, I don't think we should be displaying it everywhere. And today we have every numbers we emit and all our flares that will flare to dates. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We have some more questions in the house. I'll just go to the back.
Okay. Good afternoon, or good evening rather. My own question goes this way. So I have two questions. I'll try to break it down. First of all, as a project person, the biggest challenge why stepping into the oil and gas industry is meeting up schedule. So going to just the technical part of it, meeting up schedule, not just a particular company, but in the oil and gas industry in Nigeria. We all know that our biggest challenge is to meet up our schedule. We might schedule a project for 3 months, for a year, and at the end of the day, we don't meet up this schedule. We have projects like AKK and the rest. So, and the common project triangle we all know is that when you have an extension in your time to affect the budget and every other thing. So I'm so glad to see MudoZangl, not just MudoZangl as a company, but local content, digitalizing the oil and gas, But my question here to MudoZangl is one, how do you plan to integrate other third parties? For example, Shell as a company, right? they need other third parties like EPC contractors because they won't drill themselves. Yes, they won't operate the vessels themselves. But how do you integrate them into this planning or into this integrated planning one? Then the last question will be how do you manage cybersecurity? Because people data you'll be operating with here. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks for the kind words. When it comes to security, I would say that I remember the first time we started the business, the IT in Seplat was not able to touch the software until it went through all of their security checks. And thankfully, they were very surprised because back then, this was 3-4 years ago, that a tiny company like that at the time could scale all of their security checks. More recently, with LLNG, before they could come on board, they obviously have to go through the same process. But beyond what these individual companies are doing, we have the AWS software partnership, which speaks to the security and all of those things that will probably give you concern. We also have the ISO certifications, and one of our early clients is insisting that we have to go through the SOC 2, which is much more popular in the US, and we are planning to go through that process this year. The reason why we do this is because we understand that the importance of security for your business and give you comfort that you are on a platform that actually works. Now, when it comes to EPC, one has to be very, very careful here because you don't want to be everything to everybody, otherwise you will just probably fail, right? This is a business planning tool that is supposed to enhance value. And we've received this question a lot, especially from EPC companies, because they have other peculiar issues. One of the challenges they have today is that when you talk about engineering, construction, there are a lot of these things that where a lot of these things are prefabricated in different parts of the world, and you bring it together to site to assemble. So being able to manage all of that is a challenge. That's a fact, right? And the conversations we're having with one of these service groups, one of these EPC companies, is how can we modify this solution to satisfy their purpose. The other thing that is also taking place as part of the extension of this solution is how do we bring in AI into the system. And I'm very happy to say that one of the clients we are dealing with is particularly very, very keen on using AI to generate insights and streamline some of these things. And fortunately, we have a lot of experience in that space. And potentially, by the time we talk again, we'll be talking about how the AI is re-engineering this particular space. So I don't know whether there was did I cover all the questions? The third party. That was what I'm asking. Okay.
Yes. So we just have another question.
Good evening, Engineer Adesanya. Yeah, my question on these multifunctional activities, I want to ask this question. What are the challenges at the first when you started using this application? We are talking about assets that you know that if anything goes wrong, whether the technology is wrong, whether you're the one that is wrong, everybody is going to. So what are the challenges because there's no success without there must be some things and then so that we can look into it into the future and look at, okay, what if this thing displays itself again? We know technology can really give us a perfect thing, but we cannot really understand. And then secondly, my second question is when you were talking about this glass flaring of a thing that, okay, currently Seplat is now on, you're closing down your gas flaring by 2026, 2027. Now, I actually want to confirm this. What process are you, I don't know, I just want to know. I want to know personally. What process are you using? Like, is it gas capturing, like carbon capturing process, or like transferring gas to probably to another asset for I just want to know because I was in a conference sometimes ago and this issue that you talked about regarding government has now increased what the company will pay on gas fare and all that. So, and I could see people's contribution on that, like, if they increase what the government is charging on the company, definitely everybody will sit up and start thinking of how to stop the gas flaring thing. So those are my two questions. I just want to know the process that Seplat is currently adopting.
So I'll leave Fred to answer the second.
All right, thank you very much.
I'll leave Fred to answer the second question. I will elaborate more on the functional activity planning. The biggest challenge, and I think somebody was talking about not meeting your schedule, is the interdependency between activities. So for example, when you are in your own world, like maybe in engineering or drilling, and you want to make changes, usually your manager can approve the change. Sometimes he's not aware of the impact that has on someone else. With this collaboration window that we created, I think it was Seplat's issue that led to it. Because what happened was that when we attended their meeting, and that's where the co-creation comes in, we noticed that they have this robust, every 2 weeks they have a meeting in which they have virtually everybody across the company sitting down to talk, and this was handled manually. We then recognized that what was missing was to have this traffic light system. And one of the things, we have a slider where somebody comes and says, okay, this project is complete. As soon as it's completed, it goes green, and then it affects the schedule. And if you say it's delayed, as soon as you slide it, say 40%, whatever it is, then your Gantt chart is also automatically updated. And then that then translates into, for example, your production for the year. So that then makes it obvious that something as simple as, okay, maybe my permit is not ready. You can already see the impact it has on the rig move, it has on production at the end of the year, and that opens up very difficult conversations to be had in the room at that time. And if it needs to be escalated, then it has to be escalated. And I think that is the issue around that. Then the other thing it does, your feet is held to the fire. So usually when you make a comment, normally when you have meetings, you can make a lot of comments and walk away. Now the comment, like Fred will be there and you enter the comment you made. I want to be delivered by next week, it is entered. If you come back next week and you open the comment, it's not there, you say, but you said you're going to come back next week, what's going on? So there is nowhere to hide because it's already capturing your minutes right there and then. When we finally bring the AI into the system, then you now have a repository of information that are confidential to you. The problem with AI and using it as a company is that if you use this AI, your information can be exposed to the other parties, which is not what you want to have. So we have what they call the single tenant system, whereby you can draw in information from outside and use that to complement information you have inside without anybody knowing what is inside the organization. So we are hoping that at some point this year, we are going to launch that. But what I'm driving at is that these are some of the things that came about, and it's through co-creation with clients. And as we are trying to upgrade them to the latest noobyia platform, we engage them again to be involved in their meetings to be sure that we're not leaving anything behind as we bring the system back so that the adoption will be very simple. Like Chiabaka will know a bit more about it. All right? Thank you. You were asking about the projects for gas flaring.
Okay. You talked about how do we know what to are flaring. Maybe if you're not a Seplat staff, if you're hearing Seplat for the first time, it's beyond the media thing. We've done a lot that. First, we need to track what we are flaring. So I think we have the reservoir engineers, the technical guys. So everywhere you bring into your production, it comes with gas. You have to flare it so that the liquid can go into the separators. So the more you bring in production, the more you're flaring. But you need to measure where you're flaring. Some organizations don't, and this is where the hammer of NPRS is getting more serious about this. And before the climate change or campaign came about, we're just looking at destroying the community. Now you are destroying the earth because you are flaring. So we needed to put a meter and influential meter to measure every gas that we're taking out. So that flare meter that tells us this is the volume that is going away. So what we did was to conceive a project, gas plant project, flares out project, taking this AG, which is the associated gas you're flaring, take it to a compressor, compress it, is either you're using it to produce wick well, if they are small, you look for customers selling. There's customers everywhere to take this gas. So someone said, what we are flaring, if we can convert it to power, Nigeria will be lit up everywhere. But can we buy that power? That is another big question. That's why today you hear the Gencos are saying that they are owing us subsidy, because what they're using to generate that power is not cheap. And that's why today our customers are more of the private, because they can afford that gas and to sell to private entity. So gas is a real business. Flaring that gas is a business. So if I know what I'm flaring, I know what I want to curtail. Take those gas, compress it, cool it, sell it to my customers, or I compress it for them to make it an LPG, cooking gas. So gas has so many products. It's the real deal, and Seplat is cutting through a lot. So it's not just to take the gas away from people to live better, it's to even monetize those gas. But again, it involves a lot of capitals to get that happen, to make it happen. But with the help of knowing what we are emitting to the community around us, that helps us to now have an idea of the project we are conceiving and to execute. And that we've done. The satellite gas plant is up now. We've commissioned that. We have a lot of big mega capital projects that we are commissioning all over the places, and they are bringing value for us.
Thank you very much. My name is Rebecca Kende. So I want to ask, I must really, say this software is, I love it. I don't know, I'm just hearing of it for the first time. So say something as detailed as this. So, but one question I have is, if there's any need for a back, at the back end, you want to update the software, will it affect their information? Because, and is there a cloud somewhere where this data are being stored? Because I understand what it means to work on your own application from the back end, and you have so many organizations using this software simultaneously. And also, he already asked about privacy, cyber security. These companies that are using this software, can they be so sure that their information is not, Seplat information is not going to AG's PC or going to share, or just to be very sure? That's my question.
I wish my IT guys were here, but I can assure you that we don't have such a problem. The database for each client is separate, and they are hiding behind walls of VPNs and security, just always impossible. The solution is deployed in the cloud. However, for companies that are interested in having it on premise, it can be done on premise. But these days, people are now more comfortable with on-cloud solution. And one of the things, and you learn this all the time, when we first started on, there's always this eagerness to deploy a solution. We learn the hard way that if you try and deploy a solution prematurely, you actually will fall flat on your face. So today, even though we have a 3-year contract to deploy this solution to Renaissance, for example, we insisted that the first thing you have to do is to have that management engagement to gauge their buying into what's going to happen, because it's going to be shaking the way things are working, right? So unless you have that engagement and the buying of it, don't start. It's just going to be a waste of everybody's time. Unfortunately, they recognize that this is important and that they will be willing to support it. So I guess in our experience, right, you need to have C-level commitment. Otherwise, it's not going to work. And they have to then map the process and they do it successfully. So that has been my experience with this. If that is still for me, I don't know how to say it.
Chidi, Halim and Fred, thanks. Very interesting presentation. I have a question. If you look at the Nigerian oil and gas space, so we transitioning from these whole Shell, Mobil, all those people to Mr. and Mrs. winning an oil field, and they know absolutely nothing about oil and gas, right? But that's what we're going into, and you have a very interesting platform here. I'm just thinking, you mentioned that in order to use this, I need to have that whole asset planning cycle. Many, 60-70% of the people who are winning oil blocks now have absolutely no clue what that is. So my question would be, do you have a plan to actually use your platform to set them up to build an asset reference plan? So you use this as then taking IT and domain experience so that people who don't have an asset reference plan use this to build it and then use it for work.
So, okay, very, very clear. One of the things we found out, and thanks for the question, is that we don't have to start at the top. There are cases where people are just like the example that Seplat is talking about now. They are really interested in their activity planning. They just want to execute. You do their planning separately, they just want to execute. So they have a bunch of things they want to do. What we found out was that the system is flexible enough to start where you are. So the solution meets you where you are. So if, for example, you are in execution mode, you kick off the execution. Like even though in energy where we have deployed it, they're already in execution mode for this year. They've not started the business planning for next year. So now the system has to start off in execution mode where they load the project. And then by next month, they start the business planning plan and everything will sync. So by next year, everything will sync naturally. Now, we've not talked about using it as a basis for creating the asset reference plan or business plan. But what we are believing is that when you execute, when you show the owners the importance of a tool like this to allow them to execute properly, you start to win their confidence. All right? So you start off with execution, and then now talk about the bigger benefits if you actually have a proper business plan and you are targeting the right plan. Because you can execute a poor plan, if you execute a poor plan perfectly, you get a terrible result. So being able to plan correctly and have the right direction, even if you do like, call it the bed peak diagram, where a good plan executed poorly will always outperform a poor plan executed perfectly. All right? So when you start to win the confidence of these new entrants into the business, they start to give you a chance to educate them as to the importance of this. And that is one of the things that we have. And that's one of the reasons why we partner with some of these big four firms like PwC, KPMG, because when those companies are extremely good at mapping processes. So when a company comes and they say they want to map the process, we can work with them to map the process for them and then lay the tool on top of the process that they have mapped.
Okay, thank you very much for the clarifications provided us. My name is Princess of also with Setlat. I would just like you to help us understand how, from when a company chooses to adopt the tool, how long it takes you to really understand your process and integrate it into your system, then, have that tailor-fit application for them, because there may be a mindset that I'm just going to pick this tool today and run with it. How long does it take you to work with the team, understand the different teams input? And that's the first one. Then the second one is, what level of integrating operations planning to what level of detail can this application take, inputs from operations? Just want to get a bit of behind knowledge on that.
I think the good thing about this system is that it is extremely scalable, but it's always value driven. So usually when we are deploying, the first question is, what is the biggest question we want to address? What's the biggest problem? And that's what drives the way we customize it. So there is the template, all the functionalities are there, but each company is different. Like we had a situation where they insist on having 3 levels of approval. I don't think there's any software that does project management, that has 3 levels of even have approval process. So then we have to configure the system to ensure that they achieve it. So despite this unusual, unique situations that they have in NLNG, it took us 9 months from the beginning that we started till when we finished and went live. That's for and it's like including your flight schedule, your HR, logistics, everything is in there. It's not like it's not just engineering and this, no. What I also learned was that the first time we did a demo for them, we were speaking Greek. The demo was based on oil wells, reservoirs, and it looked at what are you talking about? And it looked like the tool was useless. So I said, okay, why not share your process with us at a very high level? And then we went back, and within 2 weeks, we rejigged the demo. And when we came back, we were speaking their language. And that then gave them the comfort to then go down the path with us, which has resulted in the deployment last month. So in terms of the debt, for Seplat, for example, the system is connected to the enterprise data warehouse. So for some, and then in the new upgrade we are going to have now, we are trying to make sure that we are leveraging all your systems of record to put the data into the system, into the platform, so that we are not duplicating efforts. And that is one of the things that we are going to have. And I think by the third quarter I'll tell you about it. The good thing also about this solution is that when we offer it, is an enterprise-wide license. Everybody within the organization has access to the platform. It's just that the focal points have to tell us what level of access you should have. Otherwise, it's only restricted by whatever your company says you should do on the platform. Yeah? Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Chidi. I know we could go on and on in this session, but I'll just like to implore everyone to stay back for the cocktails where you can network with other colleagues in the industry. You can also have a one-on-one session with the speakers from today. So we're getting to the end of this technical meeting, and we're going to be doing the presentation of honorarium, and it's going to be handled by Dr. Chukwuemeke. I'll also like to call on our section chair and our publicity chairperson as well, Hassana Salami, to present the gifts to our speakers and our sponsors for today.
Wow, please, can you give a round of applause? SPE Lagos is always excellent. I'm sure you enjoyed today's session. Thank you so much to our speakers and sponsors. Quickly, we want to present the honorarium. Let's quickly invite our session chair to do us the honors. The first person we want to bring forward is our sponsor. MD, please.
Okay, so we're having our networking session, so we can continue the discussion a bit more later on. So we'll be going on to our announcements before our vote of thanks. So we're going to be having our distinguished lecturer season. This is going to be taking place on Monday, May 26th, from 5 p.m. More details will be shared with us via emails. Also look out on platforms as well. If you're not a member of the SPE, there's going to be more information about joining, and our speaker or our distinguished lecturer is going to be Auntie Dangabat Emerson. It's going to be quite interesting. I don't know if you were here for the one in January. That was a very insightful session, and this place was so packed. We had to use the overflow. So now to member registration. I'm sure you know SPE is an organization, an international organization that you have so much to gain from. the network is not enough to speak on. It's something that I feel like everyone should take advantage on. As long as you're contributing to the economy of the oil and gas industry, you can become a member. So you can just scan this QR code on the screen. There's also more information that you can gain from any member today. You can also contact Odron. Odron is here. We also have Princess William. We have Princess here as well. And I don't think because he's around. But anyways, for SPE membership benefits, please visit SPE.org for more. And you can connect with the Labour section the best on either Instagram, X, formerly Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube. And stay connected and keep up with us because we have a lot going on. And not just a lot, like quality, quantity. Okay, so let's have our sponsors, our speakers, section directors, SPE board members come to the front for pictures very quickly so that we can go in for the cocktail. So thank you once again to MudoZangl for making this possible.